Hello and welcome to Trailcam Corner. I'm your host Jep, and today we are out in the woods and I just wanted to film a video reviewing the Stealth Cam GMAX32 cameras that I have. They have been very good cameras overall, but I have had some issues with them and I want to go over them and just talk about the pros and cons of this camera and its overall performance, give you some insights as to how they work and what the photo and video quality looks like. So without further ado, we're going to go sit down and talk about this. Here we go. Alrighty folks, I'm back at the cabin and I want to talk about the Stealth Cam GMAX32. This is the no-glow version with this really nice bark camo on it. It is slightly too green for most of the trees out here. However, at a distance, it still blends in fairly well. I can't complain, really. I like seeing manufacturers trying to camouflage their cameras. It's one of the things that's stopped me from investing in Reconex cameras because although I know I could camouflage them, I don't want to have to, right? A manufacturer that goes the extra mile and tries to camouflage their cameras, even if it's just on the faceplate, I prefer it if it was all the way around, but even if it's just on the faceplate, means a lot to me because it helps the camera blend in. Security features are nice, but the best security feature you can ever have is a camera that people don't even notice. You know, think about it. How many people could walk right by your camera without even noticing it that would otherwise try to, vandalize or steal it? If you can get your camera to be very secure and to get it to blend in well in the environment, that's fantastic. And so it's nice to see them try with the no-glow one here. I love it. I definitely would prefer it if it went all the way around. I just bought on Amazon Prime Day. I'm really hoping that they'll turn out well. I'll have to test them within the return window to see, but I just bought a couple trail cameras. I'm trying to remember the brand. It's not a brand I've bought before. Shoot, the name is right there. Anyway, their name that you've probably heard before. Would recognize. Most of their other cameras look kind of cheap, but these look really good. But anyway, the thing is that those other cameras do have camouflage that wraps all the way around, and that's really nice. I wish this had that, but it doesn't. At least it has some on the front, so if you're walking towards the camera, you don't readily see it. I also really like how the Fresnel lens here, as well as the plastic over the LEDs is kind of a matte black. I don't know how well you could see that. It doesn't want to focus. Oh, come on, Mr. Camera. There you go. But anyway, I really like how it does not reflect light and it doesn't catch your attention because a lot of these cameras use glossy coatings. They use glossy Fresnel lenses and glossy plastic for the LED covers. And it's like, that goes against the entire idea here of a trail camera. You want something that blends in, that is easy to walk right past without even noticing, and something that just doesn't really capture your attention, that doesn't catch your eye. This is great because it doesn't stand out, and I really like that. Another feature I really like is that it has a Python cable pass-through for the latch. This is something that pisses me off about Browning, and I try not to get too worked up about it, but it's really hard not to be. When you invest, almost $200 into a camera and it doesn't allow you to lock the damn door that holds your SD card, that holds your batteries, that allows you to turn the camera on and off. I want something simple, and a simple Python cable pass-through for the door latch is fantastic, and that's what this has, and I love it. I also like how it has a little bit more of a retro vibe to it with the metal on here, and I don't know, I like this more than the large door latch, but those are fine too. Moultrie makes some that allows you to, again, run a Python cable through the door latch, and I love it. And on public land, you have to go the extra mile with security because there's a lot of crappy people out there. I've had people steal my SD cards, delete photos off my SD cards, leave the camera open after they've done so. They didn't even close it. You know, I know I sound just like a bundle of sunshine today, don't I? But, you know, anyone who's been in my position knows exactly where I'm getting at, or where I'm coming from and what I'm getting at. Excuse me. But anyway, I do like the idea of having a Python cable pass through, or some other way of locking the camera door so you can't just access the camera. You have to put some effort into it. I do like, too, that they have a password protected system in here. Some cameras don't have that, and it's a little frustrating. I understand it, but because you have to keep in mind that probably takes a little bit more processing power and some programming skills, but it is very nice to be able to lock the camera and stop anyone that wants to access it from just looking at it, deleting photos, whatever. They have to use a separate card reader, and I love that, because it is pretty darn frustrating when people come along and just try and mess with your stuff. Now, as far as the menu system goes, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's very straightforward. It's nice and simple. I rather like it. Has a, I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. But anyway, it has a fairly simple setup to it. I like it. The buttons are nice and squishy. I prefer like a silicone coated button over a hard plastic button personally. It's just a small preference choice though. This thing does take, I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, it does take 8 AA batteries. And what I also like about this camera is that it just went through it right now. I turned the camera off so I don't chew through the batteries, but it has a timer on it. So I think it'll wait probably 30 seconds for you to be inactive, messing with the settings, before it'll do a countdown. And it starts from 5, and it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it goes black. And what that's doing is it's making the camera go into capture mode. So if you close the camera and forget to turn the camera to on mode or start mode, it does it for you. Because I know there's other cameras like my Guard Pro E5 that I've had some mixed results with, but overall it's an okay camera. I like it. The thing is that it has a start button. You have to press that if you want the camera to start working. And so it's easy to forget about that if you aren't really locked in thinking about what you're doing. If you had a bad night's rest or something, you could easily forget to actually turn the camera on, and then you could leave the camera alone for 6 months out in the woods and have nothing to show for it. This thing will do the work for you, and I do appreciate that. Only once did I have an issue with it. It counted down from like 15, if I remember correctly. It was really weird, but otherwise we're good. So just keep an eye on that. If you have any questions or concerns about it, I recommend turning the camera on, letting it do the countdown, closing it, standing about 50 feet away from it, and just every so often moving a little bit, waving your arm, walking back and forth. Do that a few times over a couple minutes, and then go and check the camera and make sure it was working. And as long as it goes through the same priming process as it did the time that you tested it, you're good. Now, I will try to read you some information from other people who have tested out this camera. Trailcam Pro and trailcameras.org, I believe, or trailcameras.com. Anyway, I'll make sure I get the website name correct here in a second. But Before I do that, though, I do just want to talk about some of the cons of this camera that I have. Now, obviously, I said the camouflage thing, but again, that's not really a big deal. The only con I've had is that two of them don't really work properly anymore. Now, they do work as time-lapse trail cameras, where I set it to take a picture every hour. And so, you know, it'll take a bunch of pictures, and over the next month or so, I'll be able to check it and see what I got. But you have to rely on luck there and hope that it's at the right place at the right time to capture a photo of something. But if you're trying to get an idea of what might be passing through and it's in a brushy area, then a time-lapse camera is a good idea. It's also a good idea if you're doing any scientific experiments, like how long it takes for a deer carcass to decompose or whatever, right? So that's okay. I'm not terribly frustrated about that. But you do need to be aware that you got to test the cameras every time you set them up just to make sure that they are indeed working, because there is a possibility that it could just stop one day. And there's nothing more frustrating than that, if you ask me. So that is an issue. The way you test it is you put it up on the tree, or even before you go out into the woods, you just, like I am right here, just be on your porch. You make sure all your settings are, you know, dialed in. You let the camera do its countdown. You know, close the door. You set it down, and you walk in front of it a few times. You give it about a minute before you start moving around, and just move around a few times. Wave your arms around. You know, walk back and forth. You can leave it on the porch for a little bit just to make sure it's working and while you do other things, or you can just try and take a few test pictures and then check it right away. But whatever you do, check it. Then you open up the door, and then you slide the switch to off. And you wait a few seconds, about 10, then you turn it on, you press one of the buttons to wake it up, and then you check to see. If you did what I'm about to tell you in a minute with the formatting and stuff, it should have, you know, no photos on it except for what you made it take. And you'll be able to see, like, okay, it took 34 pictures. Sweet. And then you're able to, you know, turn it off and either take it out into the woods, or you're able to just let it do its countdown again and close the door and leave it out there for a while. Let it do its thing. I prefer waiting to test it until it's on the tree, simply because what if it works when I do the testing at home, but then when I go out into the woods, that's when something happens. It probably won't happen that way, but you never know. So I do prefer waiting until I have it set on the tree to do any kind of testing to make sure that it's working. But as long as you test it right before setting it up, that's what matters. And I do that for all of my trail cameras. Absolutely all of them. No exceptions, because it's a needed thing. You have to do that. These are electronic devices, and unfortunately, electronic devices can have issues. The next thing I want to tell you is that this is the biggest quirk to these cameras. It's not necessarily a deal breaker or anything, but it is weird. That is, you have to wipe every single file folder off of the SD card before the camera will work. What I mean is this: if you have a trail camera and you have a bunch of different SD cards like I do, you keep a little container of them, and you grab one of the SD cards, you removed all the images and videos off of it, and you try putting it in here and getting it to work, it won't. For whatever reason, any file folder whatsoever on there, even if it just says DCIM, it's just the first file folder that then contains all the other information, doesn't matter. You got to get rid of it. Delete everything off of the SD card, assuming that you have everything backed up and whatnot. But you have to delete every single file folder and every single file off of the SD card before it will work. And I don't understand why that is. It's a weird quirk that this camera has. I haven't had any other cameras do that that I remember, but it's just how it is. So remove every single file folder and remove every single file. off of your SD card before putting it in here. Then what you need to do is you need to go into the menu and you need to navigate to Format SD card or Format Memory card, whichever one it says. And then I recommend doing that a couple times. That's what I do and it works well. You click Format, Yes, and then you click Yes, and it'll say Formatting, and okay, it's formatted. And then I do it a second time just to make sure it actually like did its job. And then after that, I recommend, I'm going to sign this guy on here just to show you. It's under, when you press menu, press that menu button, it will show you advanced settings. Hopefully you can see that. Once you press that, you press enter, right? And then you press the top arrow here. When you do that, it will lead you to the very bottom, so you don't have to press this too many times. And you go up one more time, and it'll take you from language to format memory card. And then you press that, and it says all data will be deleted. Yes, no. You press yes, and that's what you get to format your card. Then after that, we go back to the main screen. What I want to do is just press the enter button. And as you can see there, it took a few extra photos, which you will see in the top left corner. And the reason I want it to do that is because if you're able to get it to do that, it will force the SD card and the camera into meshing. And then after that, you're good. You just wait for it to do the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It'll go dark, and then you just close the lid here, the hatch, and you are good to go. And so I don't understand how that works. I don't understand why I have to do that. It's just a weird quirk that it has, and so I've learned to. I don't think I turned the camera off. Yeah, no, I didn't. There we go. But it's just a weird quirk that it has, and you got to get used to it because that's just how it is. So it is a little odd, but once you know how to do that, you are going to be good to go. I do recommend, again, that you check to make sure that it is working, but if it's working, then you're fine. The cameras, I don't know why a couple of them stopped working. It is kind of odd, but overall, they've been great. And I got to let you know, they only stopped working after almost 2 years, I think. At least a year. Time flies by when you're having fun, and COVID kind of ruined my sense of time, but I've had them for a while. I think it's been 2 years. And only recently have I had issues. So just keep that in mind. Now that I think about it, it may be only one camera that's a time-lapse camera, because the other one, I think it was the formatting the SD card and whatnot that was the issue, but I'll have to think back on that. Anyway, the thing is that you do have to keep in mind that with these cameras, this is the other thing that I just remembered right now, it has a 32 gigabyte SD card limit. Now that is insanely low. Now you go back 20 years, okay, yeah, that's actually fantastic. But, you know, looking at it now, that is not enough. I love that Browning, Bushnell, Reconyx, they're all offering 512 gigabyte SD card, you know, size availability, with Reconyx going up to 1 terabyte, I believe, which is fantastic. Thank you. I set up my cameras and I'll leave them out there for a year. I want to have enough space on there to not worry. Now, I will say that with these guys, since they use interpolation to create the massive, I think it is 32 gigabyte, or not 32 gigabyte, 32 megapixel size images, just basically where they're artificially enlarging the file size. And so you aren't actually getting a better photo. It's just like with AI upscaling things. It's like, no, it's just adding in information. There's nothing that it gives you as far as value, really. Not usually. So keep in mind that The setting that works best is just going with the, I think, 4 megapixel image size. That's the smallest one. And that's what I recommend, because that's just the native sensor size, if I understand correctly, with these guys. They don't have the best photo quality. Here's an example here. I'm going to give you a few, actually. Here's some daytime ones to start us off with. They aren't the best quality, but they work. They're fairly clear. It's if you get back a little ways that, okay, now it starts to get a little blurry and confusing. It's hard to tell what you're looking at. But as long as the subject is, within 60-something feet, you're okay. It's when you start pushing past that, okay, now you're starting to have issues. So I'm really hoping that with the next generation of these cameras, Stealth Cam will not just upgrade the SD card size to include at least a 256 gigabyte SD card, but hopefully a 512 gigabyte or 1 terabyte size SD card. But that they'll also include, or excuse me, not include, improve the image quality, because it's usable, it's good, but it's not great. I really want to see great, because you got to remember, it's 2026. There's room for improvement now. A much larger sensor would be fantastic, give us a nice large field of view. Having a dual lens setup would be kind of neat, but if they want to go with the single lens setup, that's fine too, just as long as it is a good, clear image that is not going to look kind of crappy at nighttime. Because here's some nighttime photos and videos, and again, within 60 feet you're good, but once you start getting past that, it's like it starts to have issues. Think about it. If you caught a Bigfoot on camera there, if it's 100 feet away, you're going to get mocked on Facebook if you try sharing that. I mean, come on now. If you get a picture of a trespasser at that distance, you aren't going to be able to identify them. If you get a picture of anything that requires details at that distance, you're going to have a hard time. So, although overall it works pretty well, I do caution you to not set this camera up a great distance away from wherever your subject is going to be walking through or driving through, whatever, because it's just not quite as good as I would like it to be. But regardless, I do think that the photo quality could definitely be improved. Here's some video. I'm going to shut up for a second and let you listen to the audio as well. So not bad. At 1080p video, you will fill up your SD card very, very quickly. I will try and give you some specs here because I don't have them on hand, but the settings for the camera were such that it did not record a whole lot of 1080p video before the SD card was filled up, because again, a 32 gigabyte SD card just isn't a whole lot of space. And at 720p, the photo, or excuse me, not photo, the video quality didn't look that different, and it didn't use up as much space, but still, it does add up. So I recommend photo mode. I go with 3 photo burst. and I go with the 4 megapixel file size because that just is the most economical while still providing you enough information. If you only go with one photo, you won't get enough. Sometimes like the tip of an antler will get into frame and trigger the camera, but then you miss the rest of the antlers. So you can't tell if it's, you know, a 3-point or a 6-point or an 8-point, a 10-point. You don't know. You just see a little bit of an antler and that's all you get. Because then if you have a delay on there, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, like what I do, because that does seem to work pretty well, especially if you have deer in front of the camera feeding, you know, you don't want to get 1,000 pictures of them. You won't be able to get the full picture. So 3 photo burst is what I recommend. That's what I use. And guys, I gotta say, overall, it's a great camera at a good price range. I do want to read you a little bit of information from Trailcam Pro. So Trailcam Pro, which is not where I bought this camera at, but if I were to get more, I would buy it from them. I'm really hoping they'll offer like a bundle deal or something, because every so often they do that for other cameras and it's really nice. Although I don't believe their bundle deals have as good of a warranty on them. For your just normal listing, they have a 90-day no questions asked guarantee and an exclusive 2-year warranty on their cameras, and you get free shipping on orders over $99. So I'd love to work with Trailcam Pro at some point, but it doesn't really matter. I like them a lot, and so I just want to let you know about them. Their review is pretty good. They gave it 2 thumbs up. They gave it a 92 out of 100 score, which is really good. What they said as far as battery life is that if it were to take 35-day pictures and 35-night pictures every 24 hours, it would last 27.7 months in the field on a set of lithium batteries. And if it were to take 15-day and 15-night 10-second videos every 24 hours, it would last 3.1 months in the field on a set of lithium batteries. And they do list the batteries there as well. So that's really nice. The picture trigger and recovery speed is 0.21 seconds and 0.5 seconds, respectively. Video trigger and video recovery speed is 0.66 seconds and 1.6 seconds, respectively. The detection range is 90 feet with an angle of 47.2 degrees for the detection angle, and a field of view, or FOV, of 41.1 degrees. Not fantastic, not horrible. 90 feet is pretty good, and you know, 41.1 degrees isn't terrible either. I do prefer something closer to 50, but that's pretty good. And then if I go to trailcam.org, their review of this is pretty interesting. They say, we have received the Stealth Cam GMAX32 no-glow camera as a replacement for GMAX45 that would keep taking thousands of false trigger pictures regardless of settings. Unfortunately, similar issues start happening right away with this model too. When in picture mode, the GMAX32 would function somewhat okay, but when we switched the camera to the video mode, the camera would take over 800 blank night videos within a few hours and drain the batteries. So it's kind of funny how, depending upon who you talk to, you get very different reviews. They too did not like the memory card limit and whatnot. The detection range we have experienced is about 60 feet. The trigger speed is good, but slightly slower than the listed 0.4 seconds. The camera is susceptible to wind and elements, and more than 70% of all pictures are false triggers. In addition, the video mode had only 5% accuracy. We ran the camera in picture mode for the first 2 weeks, taking 1,406 pictures. When we switched to video mode, it worked okay for about a week. Then the camera misfunctioned and recorded over 800 blank videos within a few hours, and the batteries died. So yeah, it's same info. So yeah, anyway, they talk about how the overall specs sound great, but they didn't have a great experience. So it's just interesting to see how different the reviews can be. My verdict is this: I recommend it. I give it about 4 stars out of 5. Overall, it's a great design, great features. I might even go 4.5. The only thing that holds me back is the SD card limit, really. The photo quality is good enough to where that's not a huge con. I would say that the quirks with setting it up are a little frustrating, and that could be counted against it as well. If you have the time and you remember how to deal with it, 4.5 is what I'd rate it for you. Because for me, it's okay. But for your average Joe, I'd say it's probably 4 stars, simply because you have to deal with those little quirks. And once you add that into the picture, I think it is enough to kind of dissuade people from wanting to deal with it. So keep that in mind, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is my first video, so I apologize for being a little bit awkward with all the information. I'm hoping to smooth this out as the months go by. If you do pick up a trail camera because of one of my reviews, please let whomever you purchased it from know that I sent you. I will leave links down below to the Trailcam Pro and the Amazon listings for this camera. And, and probably Stealth Cam's own website. And I hope you guys have a good one.